In the Glenfield Hospital medical records from the 16th of July 1969, in the coroner's report on the Layton boy, a matter worthy of some interest is noted. On the 8th of March, 1946, identical twin brothers Harold and Walter Layton returned from the war to their disused family estates, Layton Manor. They anticipated a peaceful existence and a life of domestic bliss to forget the horrors they were witness to in France. The twins spent their days at the manor in leisure, walled in against the outside world and all of its new complexities. Despite their insularity, the brothers were in search of wives, and over the course of the summer, a local woman named Catherine Henshaw made several destabilizing visits to the house. In Walter's defense, Catherine's previous visits to their house had not been mentioned by Harold, and when presented with a strange woman eager for his company, he was, perhaps understandably, only too willing to take advantage. During a series of mistaken identities far too complex to detail here, Catherine became intimate with each of the brothers, and in doing so, fell pregnant. When the role of the father was to be decided, the three of them agreed that the true father was largely irrelevant, as it could, in theory, be either Harold or Walter. They concluded that the most peaceable solution would be to form a ménage à trois. The firstborn, Benedict, arrived in May. Almost immediately after the birth, Catherine fell pregnant again with a second son, born a year to the day after Benedict, to whom they gave the name Charles. As the boys grew, it slowly became apparent that, save for his blue eyes, Charles was genetically identical to his brother Benedict. This extraordinarily unlikely happening did not go unnoticed by the press, but the Laytons were mostly unmoved. They merely commented that the most unlikely things have a habit of happening almost all the time. Charles inherited Benedict's old clothes, his old toys, his old room. Harold and Walter saw little reason to set Charles apart from his brother, as, after all, don't most children imitate their older siblings? The two brothers came to be inseparable. Whether through their innate similarity or through imitation, Charles followed Benedict in everything he did. He took up hobbies just as Benedict had lost interest in them. They shared the same aptitude for sciences in school and made the same tics and mannerisms in conversation. They hated the same foods and loved the same books. They never argued or disagreed about anything. They carved a single path through life, Charles only deepening the one left by Benedict the year before him. As men of science, Walter and Harold dismissed the superstitions of those who warned that doppelgangers were harbingers of bad luck. They had built for themselves a habitable and comfortable life without conflict or strain. The years passed easily. Even as the boys began to approach adulthood, Harold and Walter continued to keep the boys on a tight leash. But Charles and Benedict were not like their fathers, and began to explore pleasures outside of their small world. Starved of oxygen for several minutes, Benedict had suffered enormous brain damage, a hypoxic episode. One shriveled, malformed lung, a congenital birth defect, was discovered to be the root cause. The same condition, it was soon found, was present in Charles, too. The following year, as stated in the coroner's report on the 16th of July 1969, Charles Layton was sighted at the edge of Barnum Crossing, some 500 yards from where he was found. The jump, while potentially fatal for a young man in such frail health, was downplayed as merely a cry for help by the psychological evaluation, stemming from various traumatic influences. Due to the precarious state of Charles's health, it was recommended that Benedict serve as his organ donor, should he fail to recover from the coma. The operation would be potentially life-saving. Harold and Walter were beyond reason, however, and maintained hope despite little chance of recovery. Benedict was slowly entering brain death. With their private health care plan, they kept Benedict at home in his childhood bedroom. To be in familiar surroundings for when he woke up, they said. Charles perceived his parents' unnatural union as the cause of his illness, while his fathers agreed that, as one couldn't be quite sure of the real culprit, maybe it would be best not to blame anyone at all. Harold and Walter noted a profound change in Charles's behavior, later characterized by professionals as an identity crisis. Though the grief for his brother was deep, Charles distanced himself from the life that they had once shared. A superstitious voice in the back of Charles's head was making him afraid to follow Benedict any further. To Charles, it all seemed to be a question of economics. If rarity is proportional to value and Charles was not unique, how was he valuable? He was a duplicate, a replica. There were two possible outcomes: two sons, half dead, or one son living. When these two outcomes have the same net value, how could anyone rightly choose between them? It was impossible. It was only mathematics. This was, Charles imagined, how his fathers must view the situation. Charles left a carefully written note detailing his thoughts and feelings addressed to his parents. Things being as they were, Charles's adolescent dramatics are, to a sympathetic observer, very understandable indeed.